Growing up in an Asian American household in the early 2000s, there was only a couple of constants in my life. That was Jesus Christ and Pokemon. And little 6-year-old Nick did not know how to differentiate between the two. Basically, at this point in my life, God and Pokemon were synonymous with each other. I used to watch Pokemon religiously and I would binge every episode I could find. And I don't even remember when I started watching it weekly, but at some point, I was just watching new episodes every week. And I had the privilege of watching the original series as it was airing. I don't remember what episode I started on, but I do remember being caught up in watching weekly after the Butterfree episode and after the Pikachu Leaves episode. Those are pretty much the most emotionally jarring episodes, so that's why I remember it so vividly in my 6-year-old brain. But I was watching Pokemon since then, and I used to watch it on this channel called Kids WB. It was a news channel, but on the weekends, on Saturday mornings in particular, they would have a cartoon block called Kids WB, where they would air American cartoons with Japanese anime. And Pokemon, when it first came to the West, was part of this lineup. And this is how many kids in America in the early 2000s got exposed to anime. And I would watch every new episode of Pokemon every Saturday morning. I would make sure I had no plans, nothing going on, my parents couldn't do anything, I had to be in front of my TV watching Kids WB because we only got it every Saturday morning. And then when Kids WB got popular, they would extend it to weekdays as well and have a weekday block from 3 to 5 p.m. called the Aftertoon Show. And I was in elementary school at the time, so as soon as I got out of school, I remember every day at 2:45, I would bike or run home as fast as humanly possible, throw my bag onto the ground, and jump on the couch and turn on Pokemon. My mom would try to talk to me, but I would be like, give me like an hour. I gotta see the new episode of Pokemon. And for all the OGs, you know, at the end of every new episode of Pokemon, we would have Pikachu's Jukebox, where they would have original music for the show that all slapped equally. And then we'd also have the Poke Rap. So you know I wasn't skipping any of that. My mom would try to talk to me, but I'd be like, Mom, the Poke Rap is on and I need to lock in. And then, if Viridian City came on, it was a wrap. And there was something so magical about being a kid in this time, because we were transitioning from VHS tapes to CDs to DVR. So a lot of the time when a new episode of your favorite show would come out, you would have to actually be there in front of your TV. And if you missed the show, you just pray to God that there would be a rerun soon. I even remember going to Kids WB's website in case I missed an episode, and I'd look at their schedule because they'd have the week's schedule of programming out, and I would see, is the episode I missed gonna come on later this week? And if so, I would make sure that I was there to watch that episode. I wasn't only into the show, I loved the video games as well, and I played all of the Pokemon games that came out back then. My first ever Pokemon game was Pokemon Leaf Green, and that was one of my favorite games, and I played it to death. I even played Pokemon Stadium on the N64, played Pokemon Snap on 64, and Pokemon Coliseum, even though I had no idea how to progress in that game, so I never really got far in it. But Pokemon created so many core memories for me, and you know when you're a kid and you discover imagination for the first time? I would not be able to imagine without Pokemon. My first ever daydream was about Pokemon. When I used to watch the anime and I saw Ash go on all these amazing adventures, I would think to myself, I wish I could be in the Pokemon world, going around with my friends, battling for gym badges, camping, and doing all of this fun stuff. And now you might be asking, why is this 20-something-year-old guy telling us all of his memories about Pokemon? Well, I'm glad you asked. Pokemon the official anime ended sort of recently in 2023, and now the anime that I grew up watching is finally over after 26 years. And it's a very surreal feeling. I've been watching Pokemon forever. I used to watch it when it was only on the weekends. I used to watch it when it was on weekdays, when it was on Kids WB, when it was on Cartoon Network, and I was even there for the premiere of Pokemon the Mastermind of Mirage Pokemon, which is the first movie that introduced the all-new English cast, where they got rid of the 4 kids actors, which essentially killed my childhood. But I still kept watching Pokemon. And then around the time of Diamond and Pearl, I just really fell out of love with the Pokemon anime. It just kept going, and honestly, I wanted it to be done because it felt like it just lost its magic. And then I just completely removed myself from the Pokemon anime. I would still watch some of the new movies from time to time, but other than that, I was kind of done with the series. Even when Ash became the champion, I didn't watch the episode. I just saw the pictures online and felt that sort of pride for my boy Ash. But for this last episode, I definitely tuned in to watch in its entirety. In the beginning of the episode, we see that Ash, Misty, and Brock are all heading off in their own directions. And this isn't something we haven't seen before. Like at the end of every Pokemon series, these three would always split up. But knowing that this was the final time we were going to see these characters makes their departure all the more heartfelt. We see Psyduck come out of Misty's Pokeball, start crying, and start hugging Pikachu. And then Misty heads back to Cerulean City. We see Croagunk hit Brock when he's trying to be horny after Misty's sisters, and then they all just kind of say goodbye and go. And to be honest, I kind of wanted them to have a crying, heartfelt goodbye. But that's not the tone that they wanted for this episode. They wanted it to be lighthearted and to convey that they will see each other again, but knowing that this is the last episode of Pokemon, I think the writers could have made it a bit more sad. But the rest of the episode played out in a way I didn't really expect. Growing up is such an arduous task. You go from a kid with unlimited possibilities and dreams to an adult with a very finite potential. As you get older, the things you can do just get less and less. You have to hone in on what you actually can do. But being a kid is fantastic because you're allowed to dream. But as you get older, those dreams and possibilities slowly go away. And seeing Ash struggle with this humanizes Ash in a way that we haven't seen before. Ash comes home to Pallet Town, sees his mom, sees Professor Oak, and just takes some time to recuperate and see his Pokemon. But after this period of relaxation, the doubts and anxiety start to creep into his mind. He doesn't know what his next step is. Even Gary is wondering what Ash's next move will be. Gary congratulates him for becoming a Pokemon champion, but asks him this question: how close are you to becoming a Pokemon master? The whole series, Ash has always wanted to become a Pokemon master, and at first we thought it was by becoming the champion that he would become a Pokemon master. Well, Ash has done that, but he still doesn't feel like a Pokemon master. And coming to that realization that his dreams might be unattainable, or he doesn't know how to approach his dream, is a very real and relatable topic to a lot of us kids growing up. We all have dreams that we want to accomplish, but a majority of us will never be able to realize our full dreams. And even for the ones that want to try, figuring out your starting point is the hardest part. And before you know it, as you get older and you get more responsibilities, you stop dreaming and you stop believing in yourself. And that's honestly the scariest part about growing up. So now Ash is at this crossroad where he has become champion, but he doesn't even know what his dream is anymore. And funny enough, we get to see Team Rocket deal with this exact same problem. During the episode, they are just at a Team Rocket compound being chefs and taking people's orders. But then they realize that this is not the life that they want to live. So they go back to what they do best, which is capturing Pikachu. And even when Ash is blasting them away and they're having their last, I can't believe I'm saying it, blast off, it's a hopeful send off. So in the Japanese sub of Pokemon, every time they're electrocuted, they say it's such an awful feeling. But when they're blasting off for their final time, they're holding hands with each other and they say, even though I feel numb and I'm feeling all this pain, I still can't give up on capturing Pikachu. The big dreamers of Team Rocket, together our goal is a great feeling. Which is an incredible way to send these guys off because they're teaching Ash that by having this goal, that they can always get this great feeling from chasing what they strive for. And it kind of clears away the doubt that Ash was having because he was so worried about what his next move was. But he just needs to go back to his roots and think, what does it mean to become a Pokemon master? And have I really accomplished this goal? Ash realizes that his goal is to become friends with every Pokemon. That's what it means to be a true Pokemon master. And that being the champion wasn't the final step, it was just a stepping stone on his path to be a true Pokemon master. And so he sets out again on his never-ending journey for his dream. And it's kind of weird, he leaves without telling his mom, so his mom just assumes that he's on another adventure. Which, you know, tell your mom if you're gonna leave. But now Ash is back on the road again, and to be honest, I kind of wanted to see Ash's journey have a finite ending. I wanted him to be satisfied as the Pokemon Master when he became champion because we have seen him on this journey for 26 years. And I think we should see him accomplish his goal. And I thought that would be a really good place to leave Ash. But how they decided to end it was very anime tropish, that the journey is never over and Ash is still pining to become Pokemon Master like he did in 1999. But seeing Ash embark on one last journey and seeing the narrator's text box saying to be continued in the next adventure just left me in a puddle of my own emotions. I can't even describe what it felt like to grow up with Ash because growing up and having this amazing childhood, a big part of it is due to being able to watch Pokemon and Ash's journey. And for it to finally be over just feels like the end of my own adolescence, and it pains me to say my Pokemon journey is over. And I don't think I will watch the new series, and even if I do, I will definitely not be as invested as I was with the original series with Ash. This is the end of an era for Pokemon, and I just don't think Pokemon will ever be the same. But I'm just so grateful that Pokemon was there for me for a majority of my life, and I was able to have the privilege of watching Ash's journey. And all I can really say is, Misty, Brock, Ash, and Pikachu, thank you so much for these past 26 years and for making my childhood.